It's not appropriate that I...
a major deficiency in your management.
It seemed as though a door had opened. Once it opened, there was a race to come through it. The more tapes, the more films, the more rollovers we had, the more people came forward. And to the point where on one night I had so many telephone calls from police that we just couldn't deal with all the calls. It's not too dramatic to describe it as a tsunami. We were inundated with people rolling over.
In that sense, that paranoia worked to the Commission's advantage.
And it got to the point where we really didn't know what kind of admissions would be the next admissions we would get.
Evidence of corruption led out of the Cross to police commands covering the state, then crossed the border and pointed straight at the Australian Federal Police.
That was a deep shock for me, as it was a deep shock to a number of people who'd known these officers, and it was an extremely sad day, not just for the New South Wales Police, but obviously for the Federal Police.
I've told you before, I did you, Nicky? Well, are you interested in the heroin job or not?
Yeah.
Right.
The same.
Right. Now, do you know the gang Cabramatta?
The evidence broadcast to the world included detectives selling heroin out of the back of police stations, cops running prostitution rings, and senior detectives trading in child pornography.
Now listen, alright, all this goes, as far as his pornography is alright, $150, okay? And if I can't do any deals for that.
Further evidence of entrenched corruption led all the way to the top.
Well, yesterday it was an assistant commissioner. Today it was a chief superintendent. The New South Wales police inquiry continues to move into the very top echelons of the force. With the shock resignation of Ray Donaldson, the state's fourth-ranked officer, still fresh, there was more drama today when it was revealed they'd been bugging the commander of the Fraud Enforcement Agency.
Claims of bribery and corruption in the Joint Task Force have already led to the standing down of Chief Superintendent Bob Lysart. But the man who instigated this Royal Commission says the buck stops at the very top. Former independent MP John Hatton wants the resignation of the Police Commissioner.
Lauer must, as a senior executive officer in the police force, take responsibility for either knowing and being involved or not knowing and not being involved.
There was a price to pay for the model that was adopted. No doubt there was a lot of trauma in many homes of many corrupt police.
A lot of those officers, one couldn't help have empathy for as they related the history and how they'd got involved in serious criminal activity.
It was not easy to see grown men break down. It was not easy to sit with people in rooms whilst they came to grips with the fact that they'd made wrong decisions 20 years ago, sometimes more, and that they now had to deal with that. They were crucifying their careers, they were losing their life plans sometimes.
For some, the public revelations were too much to bear.
Another consequence of the Police Royal Commission was uncovered this morning with the discovery of the body of former Bondi police officer Clinton Molar.
Life for police officer Wayne Johnson began to fall apart earlier this year. Named at the Police Royal Commission and with his marriage on the rocks, the 31-year-old ended it all yesterday, shooting his wife Lana and then killing himself. Their 2-year-old daughter was unharmed.
Now, nobody wants to get to the situation where somebody takes their own life, but does this mean that if somebody was particularly sensitive and fragile, that their involvement in corruption is going to be hidden, and yet somebody who is apparently robust, a la Fowler, gets exposed, where do you draw the line?
We did decide, after significant exposure of what was happening,